Tony Bennett. Remember him? In the shadow of his illustrious career, we are now facing the estate feud. Drama unfolds, and today we're going to get into the Bennett estate and the lawsuits that have just erupted all over regarding the infamous Bennett estate and fortune. Welcome to Gavels Down, Voices Up, where we flip the script on conventional legal discussions. I'm Rachel King, here to guide you through the murky waters of family law, estate conflicts, inheritance disputes, all of the dramas. We're not just talking about law, we're talking about how it affects your life, your rights, your future, and your money. From the courtroom to your living room, we bring you insights that matter. Dive into each episode ready to challenge, learn, and grow. Ready to change the dialogue? Let's begin. Gavels down, voices up. In today's episode, we're going to go all into wealth and legacy. We're going to talk about some of the things that are notorious among celebrities that pass away and leave a huge estate, but that are not limited to just celebrity status. Let's get into how an estate can unfold and what we all have in common with even the most wealthy celebrities. Imagine, if you will, the lights of Hollywood, the glamour, the fame, the life of luxury that we so often associate with the rich and famous. Behind all of that glitz and glamour, there are estates, legacies, and unfortunately, or maybe not, we have complex, messy family dynamics. Maybe we've come to expect the complex, messy family dynamics with celebrities because it makes them so much more relatable to our drama-filled lives. Whether you're the rich and the famous or you're the down and dirty, one thing that is true to all of us is the family drama, and it connects us to the celebrities. Maybe that's why we're so interested in the celebrity drama. Today, let's delve into one story as compelling as a blockbuster, the Bennett estate. Let's start with a background in case you didn't know. The Bennett estate. What an empire, huh? A testament to life lived in the limelight, an estate that is so incredibly a vast estate. We're talking multi-million-dollar properties, royalties from films and music, and an art collection that, I don't know, most art collectors would die for. I probably wouldn't even know most of the people in the collection, but that doesn't mean they're not worth a small or large fortune. It's more than just stuff, though. The Bennett estate has a lot of investments, trusts, intellectual property rights. Think all of the music that was created. There is so much involved in the Tony Bennett estate. And now that he's gone, what happens to it? Who's going to get it? The Bennett patriarch, Tony Bennett, not just a household name, but also such a shrewd businessman, and he really built an empire. But as the saying goes, with great power comes great responsibility, and in this case, a huge heap of legal trouble. But he didn't know it. All right, so after Tony passed away, a lawsuit unfolded, and maybe many people saw this coming. I certainly deal with post-mortem lawsuits all the time. In fact, that's my primary area of practice as I sit here today. But when Mr. Bennett died, he didn't just leave all of this money. He also left his family in a wake of family drama. We're talking a family that was probably already on the brink of collapse. And then you add in the fact that Tony, the patriarch, died. And now we've got all of this money and this feud coming. And it is kind of no surprise to people on the inside that this is what happened. The Bennett daughters, Tony's daughters, the girls, they filed a lawsuit against their brother, basically saying that he did everything wrong. He misappropriated funds, he breached his fiduciary duty, he took things that he wasn't supposed to, all of the stuff. And you might be sitting here and thinking, why in the world did they wait? Why did they let him do this if he was in control? Well, we've got a lot of standing issues. Standing is kind of the legal name for somebody that has the right to sue. And when we're talking about assets, the right to sue over those assets, especially inherited assets, it's kind of a little tricky. I mean, I don't want people suing over my assets while I'm still alive because they're mine and I could spend them. So we've got some tricky issues here. And maybe that's why they had to wait. I've also had clients come to me personally and say, look, I don't want to sue while mom or dad is still alive, because God, that'd be a disaster for them. Mom and dad get to live out their life. That could have also been the situation here, that the daughters decided, you know what, we're not going to have our dad's last days, patriarch, infamous celebrity or not, carried out among a feud between siblings. Because I can tell you as a parent, that's like my worst nightmare, is my kids fighting. So that can also be a reason to delay the proceedings. Nonetheless, Tony dies, daughters sue brother. So not only are the girls saying that their brother mismanaged the money, they're also saying that he failed to safeguard it. And as a fiduciary, you kind of have an obligation to make sure that everything doesn't go to hell, right? You can't be in charge of a piece of real property as a trustee or a fiduciary and let it go to waste and get crumbled and all of the things that could go wrong. You can't go in and let money sit in a non-interest bearing account and have charged a monthly fee every month that slowly eats away at it. As a fiduciary, you have to do everything you can to safeguard the funds. And the daughters, they're saying, you didn't do that, brother. They're also saying that he siphoned money off the top. That's kind of misappropriating. You wanted to go to order DoorDash here. You wanted to hop on that private jet there. You needed a tank of gas to get from A to B, all of the things. I'm sure that what brother was doing are on a much larger scale than maybe what some of the people that I've dealt with have done. The people that I'm dealing with typically do have a DoorDash in and out, tank of gas, Costco run situation. Maybe brother did, or maybe his were a huge amount larger, like the jet or the house or the family vacation or who knows what. In any event, they were saying you siphoned money off the top that you were not entitled to, and they're suing for that. Again, common problem. That's why we love it, because celebrities are dealing with it and we are too. It's something that we have in common and we love it. So, as we are watching this horrific family drama unfold that has to do with money and celebrity and all of the things, we're fixated. We can't wait to hear what's going to happen next. So, let's talk about the legal side of things. As I've said, if we kind of zoom out from this, Tony Bennett's estate, not the first time that we've seen celebrities get involved in legal battles over their estates after they pass away. Also, we see it every day in our daily lives. Go into any courthouse and you'll see daily calendars filled with 10s, 20s, 30s numbers of cases of people doing this exact same thing. But from a celebrity point of view, because we love our celebrities, we've seen this same exact scenario play out with the likes of Prince, Aretha Franklin, James Brown, just a few of the musical celebrities that have found themselves on this side of a lawsuit. And by this side, I mean, after death. Will contests, trust disputes, questions over who did right, who's inheriting what, and what should happen, they're really, really common. In fact, successor trustees and executors have a huge amount of power, and we entrust so much in them, whether they are taking over while we're still alive and in our older years, maybe because we have dementia or something like that, or they're trying to handle the estate after we pass away, making sure that final taxes get paid, that everything is handled the way it's supposed to, and that the distributions occur as we wanted to. It's a huge amount of responsibility. Now you stack on royalties, and let me tell you, I've dealt with royalties a few times, and they can be a nightmare. They can be a nightmare for the artist or the royalty receiver during their lifetime. And now we're saying that all of these heirs need to be able to figure out how to find and collect royalties after the fact. What a pain. Celebrity status, lots of money, all of these intricate assets, especially as we go more and more digital, they can really cause a huge problem. And when you're having an executor or a trustee have all of this power, sometimes they can do wrong, or sometimes they just don't know how to do right because it's so complicated. Either way, we're going to find ourselves in a trust dispute or in the court trying to hash out what is going on. And these cases, they can cost tons and tons and tons of money. Now, who brings these lawsuits? Many times it is family. In fact, sometimes the biggest vultures are the child that you birthed, or the brother that you helped raise, or the grandchild. Sometimes it's the caregiver that you paid super well. People that are closest are often the ones that file these lawsuits and become the most greedy. Why? Because with money and death, oftentimes comes really, really horrible greed and can bring out the worst in people. This might be because it's based on money. I know a lot of people that would say it's just all about the money after somebody dies. I have a different point of view. Certainly it's about the money. But I also think actually it can really be about the fact that people are grieving, are mourning, are angry, sad, lonely, all of the things. And all of those feels, they are handled by every person differently. And when people handle it differently, it manifests differently. And sometimes it manifests in distrust and a resulting lawsuit. And that's because we're human. And though the Bennett family is one of celebrity status and one we all like and know and are notorious, they're no different from us with the feels. They are still grieving this loss of Tony Bennett, but from a much different standpoint than we are. We're distant. We don't know him personally. We don't have a love relationship with him like a familial relationship his family does. So they're all grieving and mourning, and that can really cause conflict and distrust. In fact, I once had a really interesting case. Let's take a quick break. If you're navigating the twists and turns of divorce, you might be wondering, getting divorced, now what? That's actually the title of my upcoming book, designed to guide you through the challenging and emotional process of divorce. It's packed with real-life stories, expert tips, and motivational insights to empower you every step of the way. While it's not available just yet, you can join the waitlist to make sure you don't miss out. Head over to rachelkingattorney.com to sign up to be the first to get a copy and enter to win a free signed copy as soon as it releases. Arm yourself with the knowledge to move forward confidently through this challenging time. Now let's get back to the show. So I had a group of 3 siblings, and we were trying to figure out what to do with mom's body. There was no real person in charge. There was no will. There was no directive as to what mom would have wanted. And the siblings had a very close relationship with each other. They were also very close to mom. So mom passes away, and one sibling says, mom wants to be cremated. I know what mom wanted. Mom wanted to be cremated. I want to do what's best for mom. We're going to cremate mom, and we're going to give each of us 1/3 of the ashes. Other child comes in and says, no, I know what mom wanted. Mom wanted to be buried and have a headstone where everybody could come and bring her flowers. That's what she would have wanted. And third child is like, mom didn't want any of this. Are you kidding? Mom just wanted to be put to rest, have everybody move on with their life, spend the inheritance and be done with it. She didn't want a big to do, and she didn't want us stressing over it. So let's not make it a big deal. These siblings, who prior to mom's death really loved each other and got along, ended up being in a horrific legal battle because each one of them thought that they knew what mom wanted. And here's the kicker. They all thought they were doing what mom wanted best. So they were all coming from a really great, honest place. But through the grief process, through the mourning, it was manifesting as anger, rage, and disgust for each other. They were ended up in court. It was a mess. I'm not going to say what ended up happening, but I can tell you that 5-6 years later, I revisited this family, and they hadn't really been able to completely cure the cracks and fill the holes that had happened and occurred during the lawsuit and the litigation, but they'd at least tried. And every single one of them thought, God, that was such a mess. I was really not in a good headspace. I shouldn't have acted that way. Why? Because that's what happens with grief. And again, you throw in some money and oh my gosh, it's a setup for disaster. And it can really, really tear apart families and have long-term catastrophic effects. So what's my takeaway there is just like, woosah, let's see if we can do these things and get to the bottom of it. One of the tips that I give people when I'm handling their cases, if I'm dealing with somebody in charge, is transparency. Let's talk about transparency. If we can give a little bit more information than maybe we're legally required to the siblings or the children or the people that are asking, maybe we do that. Why? Yeah, no, you're not doing anything wrong and you don't have to do it, but you don't know what they're feeling. And sometimes all people want is to be involved and be part of it. And a little transparency and over communication can really do amazing things for these kind of estate cases. I don't know that that would have solved the Bennett trust estate and the Bennett estate, but maybe if brother had been more transparent, that would have helped. Maybe he isn't doing anything wrong, hadn't siphoned money off the top, was doing the best he could to maintain and preserve these assets, but he wasn't telling his sisters. Maybe he didn't have time for it. Maybe he thought they weren't entitled to it. Maybe he thought, I'm doing everything right. I'm busting my butt for it. And they just keep nagging for information. Who knows why he didn't give the information? But if he had, assuming he wasn't doing something wrong, that could have potentially prevented the whole suit. But here we are. We have a lawsuit. And when you're in a lawsuit over an estate, there are things that you can do to bring it back down, right? For example, seeing if there is a way that you can provide transparent communication, open information that will solve or resolve some of the potential misgivings. I think that this person, that my uncle was stealing all of the money off the top while mom was in memory care. Okay, well, let's see if we can give you all of the bank statements before we get into a major lawsuit so you can see if you have questions. I'm happy to answer them. Same thing can be done when you're in a lawsuit. Once you're already in the lawsuit, maybe you didn't know you were about to get sued. It's okay to go back and say, okay, how can we make this more transparent? I've even had cases where wrong was done. All right, so you're saying, well, Rachel, what if they screwed up and made a mess of things and did take money? Then what? They're not going to want to be transparent. Well, actually, sometimes in those cases, I've said, yes, let's be transparent. Let's say, hey, I did take $25,000. I did use some money to take my family on that vacation to Hawaii. It cost $50,000. You add up however much you've done wrong with, and you can voluntarily pay it back. You can pay some interest on it and maybe just get a slap on the hand and a shame on you. You don't have the money to do that. What else can be done? Maybe you say, oh, okay, I don't have the money to pay back, and I know I took more than my inheritance share, so I'm just going to disclaim my interest and step down. There are so many things that can be done to resolve these while you're in them, but you have to be able to look at the picture, maybe a little from an outside view, understand the law, and find an attorney that you can trust. And I know that many times I advocate that you don't necessarily need an attorney or that you can self-represent, and sometimes attorneys can be really expensive. But in the area of trust disputes, it can be so technical and complicated that it can be really, really helpful to have a really good attorney help you navigate how to get yourself out of a sticky situation or how to dial it down. I was involved in a lawsuit that took about 4 years. The total estate was about $650,000. This ended in 2022. So we're talking about an estate worth about $650,000 in 2022. Now, from there, we had a 3 or 4 year case. We had a 10-day trial. We had witnesses. We had legal fees on both sides that were between $150,000 and $200,000. So of the $650,000 estate, let's be conservative and say there was a total of $200,000 in attorney's fees. And at the end of the day, in that case, even though the court ruled in favor of one party, the court also said, hey guys, you guys are both going to bear your own attorney's fees and costs. Oh my gosh, that's a huge amount of money over what is a fairly small estate. In fact, I remember the judge at one hearing saying to both parties, my clients included, you both have really fantastic attorneys. Your attorneys are doing a great job. They are advocating for you fiercely, and you are well represented. But you are arguing in this case as though it is worth multi-millions of dollars. So maybe step back. In that case, they didn't step back. We went all the way to trial, but you can see that it can be really, really expensive. Happy to say I won that case, but I didn't get the attorney's fees. The judge still said, hey, no, everybody's going to bear their own attorney's fees and costs. Nonetheless, it can be really, really beneficial to have an attorney that can explain to you how these work and see if you can dial back and figure out how to resolve it, whether that's through mediation or another alternative dispute resolution, whether it's through one of the local county bar associations, or maybe just getting some transparent information and reaching an agreement. Whatever the case, whether you're dealing with the Bennetts or a much more modest estate that is probably what most of us are dealing with, it's a cost-benefit analysis. I say child custody is an expensive legal battle, but really people fighting over other people's money can be more expensive. When we're talking about estates, have a really great attorney, understand the laws, and truly from the outset, look at resolution. How can I get out of this? Because at the end of the day, you were hopefully gifted some money by inheritance, and it would be awful if it was squandered away in legal fees. Though, job security for me, I suppose. In the end, the Bennett estate is a cautionary tale, but not one that we won't see again. These estate battles, inheritance disputes, they are ongoing, whether it's over $10 or billions of bucks. Who knows? Inheritance disputes are one forever. If you have one, or you know one, or you just want to talk about it, let's hear it. I would love to hear your explanation, your story behind an inheritance dispute gone wrong, or maybe one that went right. I also would like to hear from the people that had a potential claim that decided, you know what, I'm going to choose family harmony over legal litigation. My name's Rachel King, and until next time, gavels down, voices up. That wraps up another episode of Gavels Down, Voices Up. If you found value in our discussion today, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who needs these insights. Your engagement helps us grow and impact more lives. I'm Rachel King, thanking you for listening and reminding you to speak up, because every voice deserves to be heard.